Welcome to the Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler.
What is up, Lock Shoppers? Matawanek in for Dusty on this Friday. Huss joining us shortly here on the Lock Shop, presented by Play Alberta. On Edmonton Sports Talk, EdmontonSportsTalk.com, tune in, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, YouTube, and podcast, wherever you get your podcast. I think we're going to have a late entry, possibly, into controversy of the year at the Estes. Before this show, I quickly tried calculating the results, because somebody in the nasty chat says, 18% on Twitter, 20% on Insta, 19% average. It's not averages, it's total votes. We will calculate the votes of Twitter and Insta and put it together. Before this show, calculated Tommy at about 17.8% of the vote. However, how many votes just came in on Twitter that weren't there for me? There's 17 more votes added on Twitter. It looks like Tommy got a good chunk of this. Look, as a political nerd and election nerd, I've always wanted to be on an election desk. I've always wanted to break down the numbers and be like on the wall and be like, here's where the results are still coming in. So this makes me a little happy right now. But Tommy, it looks like a bulk of that last batch of voting has gone Tommy's way. He is up to 18.2% on Twitter, which is where a good chunk of this voting is taking place. On Insta, there is a vote. Tommy's at 20%. I believe at this moment, if we did the math, Tommy looks like he's projecting to being or staying in Edmonton Sports Talk drafts. At this moment in time, it looks like we may only have one relegation for the Edmonton Sports Talk. On Twitter, there's 25 minutes left to vote. On Insta, it will be a little bit longer because that vote came up after the Twitter vote. But it's looking good for Tommy. And now there's a lot of questions that will be asked of how does this get handled? What is Commissioner Quinn Phillips going to do when it comes to this? This is just something else to pay attention to. Controversy of the year, potentially. Is that what we're looking at? A late entry into controversy of the year at the Estes, which actually I was quickly going through the Estes nominations yesterday. Why are you saying bullcrap, Trev? What? That's what makes it a controversy, Trev. It becomes a farce because of that. The controversy there is actually a pretty loaded category, I think, going into this year. I don't want to spoil just yet what's going on with that. But if you're a Nasty Club member, voting should open the next week or two on that one. So stay tuned to your emails when it comes to that one. The Nasty Bash, by the way, it is taking place, as well as Nasty Bash Day out at the St. Albert Rugby Club. About 6 o'clock is what we are saying. Reed Wilkin, Jay Milne, they will do their show live from there from 3 until 6. I will have the Green and Gold Kickoff show with Jay as well from 4:30 until 5:30 out at the St. Albert Rugby Club. And Jay and I will, of course, also have the post-game show for you once the game ends between the Elks and the Alouettes up at playalberta.ca right now. The Edmonton Elks, they are a plus 2.5. So the Owls are slight favorites. It's actually dropped since the hangout. Owls are down to minus 1.5. This is turning into a pick'em. Elks plus 103 on the money line. The Owls minus 137. So clearly money going the Elks way. A lot of people believing in the Edmonton Elks in this one. So that line changing to minus 1.5 for the Alouettes. Tomorrow there will be a doubleheader. The Argos minus 3.5 over the Red Blacks. And then it's the Stamps minus 4.5 against the Blue Bombers. Those depth charts should be coming out shortly, where it is expected that we will see both Zach Collaros and Vernon Adams Jr. behind center for their respective clubs. So that should make that game a lot more interesting. It'll be fascinating. I haven't talked with Huss fully on the CFL this week because he's been doing it with Dusty. But what will be fascinating is just like, can the Bombers, it's hard to beat a team 3 times. But we saw what Calgary did to Winnipeg in those two games. So that's going to be a fascinating game that goes tomorrow. I believe Dusty's calling that one. He's got to drive out for that game as well. I got to turn off this voting so I don't pay attention to it until the show is over, because it's just going to distract me the rest of the show here on the Lock Shop. Big Uke. Now the big question is, how did the commish word the new 2% penalty for advertising? Is it imposed on the next draft, or is it imposed on the results of the draft the infraction was committed in? I will say this, as she said, this is the standard moving forward. This is the rule moving forward. And so that is going to be based off how did she rule the last one, which is she gave it to the next draft. So I think the wording would have to be it's the next one. It's the next one. With that, let's bring in Huss from Winnipeg Sports Talk. Huss, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great, Matt. It's Friday. It's the summer. Coming off a very nice evening in the Lock Shop. Shout out to Vicky and Boko. And what a freaking football game last night.
A great game.
Dude. Craziest thing is, and I don't know who else was on this. Dusty and I were talking about this yesterday, and I'm like, okay, what about a real fireworks prop in the game last night? 700 combined passing yards between the two teams. And it wasn't looking good at halftime.
It was, Bo was 6 of 9, I think, for like 99 yards or something like that.
Can you believe this? It ended up in 60 minutes at 699. But thankfully for OT. Like if what's his name, Leggio had missed that kick and we'd finished at 699, that would have been a tough one to handle. But man, that was just so much fun. That, like, for a night where the Jays were done, weren't playing, you had some tennis, you had one CFL game, like from Mboko, the men's final in Toronto was amazing. And I mean, that game was, that'll be right up there for the game of the year. And what a brutal mistake for Hamilton in overtime too. I mean, you
sometimes just go down. Sometimes it's best to just go down. And it's interesting just looking at the tail of the two halves for Hamilton. It was 4 punts, a missed field goal on the end of the half for their drives. For BC, there was 2 field goals, a missed field goal, 4 punts, and then at the end of the half, right at the end, it was that touchdown to Javon Catoy. But then it was trading, haymaker after haymaker. I think it was 3 straight possessions where it was a touchdown. Hamilton came out and scored in no time at all. Right as we got out of started the second half, then BC responded right away. Hamilton going back the other way. I was Jay's play of the day yesterday, had Bo 250 plus passing yards and 2 touchdowns, and it was like, okay, we're going to go. But then right after that first drive, it like bumped up to like 190 yards or something passing. And you're like, okay, I'm feeling much better about this. Fantastic football game. Great way to start the week. Not a good result for the Edmonton Elks when they see the BC Lions get that victory. But what you want to see also in the Canadian Football League, where like if you just look at the stat line, Nathan Rourke hasn't had that season that we all thought maybe he would possibly have, refining and just being at the whole time the level of 22. But 408 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, both 305, 3 touchdowns. Like just 2 top-notch quarterbacks showing their best, great running games. And then just the question marks of the kick, like with Hamilton not being able to kick for a period of time, that always throws an intrigue. It was just a great football game to start this week. Leads us to tonight, which over at PA here, Al's now -1.5. So it has shifted really much towards the Elks.
Wow.
Plus, the Elks are plus 103 on the money line. Where are you at when it comes to Elks Als tonight?
I think the Elks can win this game. I think that they can win as an outright underdog. I have them on the spread. And I also have a little sprinkle on them on the money line. What is the number for them to win right now, Matt?
Plus 103. A money line straight up is plus 103.
Okay, so man, it's come down a lot.
It's almost we're at pick'em territory on Play Alberta.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I mean, it's nice to get plus money as opposed to minus 110 or whatever. But yeah, I mean, like, listen, this point spread is almost almost insignificant when we're talking about this football game. I mean, listen, the Alouettes are absolutely decimated. But, I mean, I'll ask you, I was talking about this with Remus after the lock shop yesterday. This is the double revenge game. Fajardo going against the Alouettes, MBT going against the Elks. One of the juiciest quarterback matchups, at least for quote-unquote backups, that we've seen in a long, long time. But it just seems like Edmonton, who's had their fair share of bad luck so far this year, is getting Montreal at the best possible time. Hey, yeah, they do have to go on the road, but MBT has been very mid so far this year. No Mac, Philpott. I mean, we're talking about some big-time players and difference makers. I was texting with Gazzola last night about it. I guess he saw that my picks came in, and I was on Edmonton. I said, listen, if this defense can just mix in a few stops, if that's not too much to ask, I think the Edmonton Elks will be right in this game. I mean, I think we've seen progression from the offense under Cody Fajardo. You know he's going to keep them in the football game. That's why, earlier in the week when you could get like 3 or 3.5, I think it was pretty. I think actually this one might have opened at 4. Didn't it?
I think it was 4.5.
So I think there's a reason why people are back in the Elks tonight. I think they are very much a live dog right now. And listen, with no skin in the game, I'd love to see it. Let's get things a little tighter at the bottom of the standings, a little closer. And I'll tell you what, with BC's win last night, Matt, the Elks absolutely have to figure out a way to win this game because they could be left in the dust by Labor Day if they don't.
Well, by Labor Day, it could be sooner than that. Like the two things you have to look at, the Elks have 2 games in hand. They're 6 points back on the BC Lions. However, the BC Lions do have the season series. They're also 2 points back at Toronto and Ottawa because if you catch BC, well, that's not good enough. You also need to be, or either you have to get to Winnipeg or you have to get to the crossover. It's easier to get to that crossover at that point. However, they play each other, Toronto and Ottawa, this week. So right there, one of them likely will be picking up a victory, and we guess unless we get one of those rare ties. But now all of a sudden you're 3 points back of if you lose this week, you're 3 games back of the crossover in that sense as well, because not only do you have to make up those 4 points, but then you also have to make up another point or 2 because you can't use a season series when it comes to a crossover. So it's a very important game for this Elks team. It's not even just a revenge game from the 2 quarterbacks. Keon Julian Grant's going up against his old club and also, looking for that rebound after that devastating drop last week. And on the other side, it was a very brief period of time, but Alex Hollins did sign with the Edmonton Elks through training camp, was a late cut, and he's in the starting lineup for the Montreal Alouettes. He's on the depth chart starting in this game. So even on that receiving core, there's a little bit there. I have seen enough Elks football over the last number of years to tell you that there's also a really good chance that MBT is going to go off for 300 yards tonight, and 120 of those and 2 touchdowns are going to go to Alex Hollins. Like, that's kind of the history of the Edmonton Elks. Everything you said on Cody Fajardo is right. Everything you said on the injuries of the Montreal Alouettes is accurate as well. The defense, it's can they make that key stop late in the game, which we haven't seen? Can they go get an interception tonight? Which, if there's a quarterback that you should be able to go do it against, it should be McLeod Bethel-Thompson based on the way he's played this season. But for me, I have a tough time right now betting on saying the Edmonton Elks, they are going to win until they show me they can go win a football game again.
I totally understand. Listen, you've struggled through these pre and post game shows for the better part of the last half decade, seeing this team. And listen, I mean, it has been more of the same so far this year. I just kind of feel that with the quarterback change, I mean, there's no way the defense can be as bad as they've been all year long. I mean, the law of averages will just say that they'll come up with some better plays and some better performances because, I mean, it has been historically bad so far. Are they making any moves on the defensive personnel for this one, Matt? Like, have they made any changes on defense?
0 changes week to week, although, like, the Elks defense has gotten better the last 2 games. It was 28 points last week, 24 against Saskatchewan. Got a lot of stops in there. But the issue right now for the defense through this progress, well, there's 2. They can't get a turnover, which is devastating. The other part to this is they give up early touchdowns. They also give up late touchdowns. But in between, they've done actually a really good job the last couple of weeks against some pretty good offenses, containing those teams and keeping the Elks in it. It's just, can they get off to a better start tonight, not giving up an opening touchdown in the first possession or two? And if it's a close game in the fourth quarter, if MBT or Caleb Evans takes to that football field in the fourth quarter and it's a one-score game, can you go get the stop? Or are you going to allow them to just march down the field just like Bo Levi Mitchell did last week and win that football game? And that's the concern right now with the defense. But there are no changes. There's no changes on offense, no changes on defense. So we'll have to wait and see. Like, Joel DeBlanco, from what I saw last week, looked pretty good. But as other people have pointed out, it was in the pass protection where he really struggled. And Bo Levi Mitchell took advantage of him. He was great stopping the run, but they threw in areas where they were able to turn DeBlanco in the wrong spot as he's filling in right now for the injured Nick Anderson. Is Montreal going to take advantage of that? Like, it's...
To be fair, Bo's been doing that to a lot of teams this year.
100%. You're absolutely right on that one. But MBT is been around long enough. Can he do that to Joel DeBlanco too and take advantage there? Like, and the other concern I will have is, again, this is just so many wounds that I'm having to go through. It's just one of those, like, it's that guy that no one's talking about that's just gonna go off today. There's I don't want to say he's a nobody or anything, but like Sean Thomas Erlington had an okay game against Edmonton a few weeks ago, but that Thies, who's his backup, like, I've seen enough where you go into a game and think the Elks are going to, they should be able to keep it close and find a way to get that victory. And Thies is going to go off for 100 yards rushing and a touchdown himself. Like, and they won't be able to stop him. So it's, the defense, we've seen major progress over the last 2 weeks, I would say, but there's still a lot of work to be done. Offensively, we've seen major projects, some work to be done. A lot of two and outs late in that game last week as well. They got the big turnover with the Cody Grace fumble recovery, turned it into 3 points only because they couldn't get a first down. That was a 2-and-out. The question will be, has this team in a week learned how to execute a little better and finish plays off and finish drives off? That's going to be something to watch. But it's one of those wild games where, because of those injuries, because where Montreal is, I could absolutely see the Elks going out and getting a 14-point win. But right now, I've been wounded too many times that I think I have to go. I can't pick the Elks outright until I see something else, until they actually could prove it wrong. Then I could feel a little bit more comfortable. That 5:30 game, 4:30 Green Goal kickoff show, myself and Jay Mill.
I'm just looking at this. So I got in on the Elks money line a couple days ago or a day ago, whenever it was, at plus 128. That's come down a bit. And then we bet it early in the week when we were putting together the 3-gamer. Maybe this was on CFL 110, but Elks plus 3.5, which I think is a nice spot. I mean, I think that, if you want to tease I think this will be a close game. I got a feeling that of all these games this week, except with maybe the Toronto, I kind of do like Toronto maybe to cover maybe a little more comfortably than some of the other numbers. But it's quite clear that people are feeling like the Elks are, well, they're very much due. You know that more than anybody. Yeah. But there have been signs that this team is kind of coming around, will be more competitive. And as I say, you're catching Montreal at the right time. So,
but the flip side a little bit of that is Jason Moss won his 4-0 against the Elks in his head coaching career with Montreal. Are you also getting a pissed off Montreal team with what Saskatchewan did to them last week?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, they never got past the 50-yard line or the 45-yard line last game. I mean, they got absolutely smashed. Now, granted, the Riders defense and the Elks defense are at the two opposite ends of the spectrum. The Riders have been phenomenal this year, and we've just discussed the issues the Elks have had. But I'll tell you what, a nice spark from a motivated quarterback that wants to make a bit of a statement. Tell you what, this is going to be a fun football game, and I think it will be close. And as I say, I've got a lot of good vibes that the Elks are going to be able to be in this football game and maybe even win the whole damn thing.
We're doing the pre and post at our big nasty bash party tonight, so post game will be interesting. Either way, if they win, it'll be a fun time for sure on the Green and Gold post game.
So a big viewing party, nasty bash, and post game live.
Yeah, well, so the nasty bash is our third major of of our events. We have the Fun Spiel, we have the golf tournaments, we have the Estes coming up later in September, but then the Nasty Bash is just a nice, good. We got the St. Albert Rugby Club, good place, just have drinks and have a good night. Big party. It's where we announced Edmonton Sports Talk.
I remember it.
Last year we announced Reed Wilkins there. So it's become just the big party. And then the only day we could do it this year was today, which is an Elks game. So that's going to add to it. So post game should be an interesting one.
I'm waiting to see if Dusty's voice is at his usual 100% tomorrow for the game.
Although he has done games last year, I think he did the Sunday game when we did it on a Friday night. So tomorrow, though, it's a little quicker. With that, speaking of that, it is Stamps, it is Bombers. It should be Zach Collaros going up against Vernon Adams yet again. This Bombers team, though, before I brought you on, I was talking about, I don't know if you heard, the fact that the Bombers did lose, too, pretty convincingly to Calgary not that long ago. They got smoked. But it's hard to beat a team 3 times. What's the feeling like in Winnipeg right now of the Bombers going in Calgary and getting this victory?
Well, I mean, listen, it's not like last week's performance was the massive confidence booster offensively. I mean, they certainly found ways to win. Willie Jefferson reemerged as the dominant defensive force in the Canadian Football League with one of the greatest games he's ever played. And they got a big boost from Trey Baval returning 2 kicks. But listen, they're getting Stanley Bryant back and they're getting Zach Collaros back. Now, Collaros was not very good against Calgary in their first 2 games. It got knocked out of one of them. So, I mean, by no means is there any guarantee that, that's just going to completely automatically turn this around. But I do think that Zach is in a situation where he is, took the extra time last week to not play. He's in a better spot. He said that he would maybe rushed coming back a little bit with this neck injury or whatever he's been dealing with. I really think that Stanley Bryant, though, is going to be a real steadying presence on the offensive line. We speak so much about receivers and quarterbacks just because that's where all the stats are. It all starts on the offensive line, and the Bombers really missed their big guy. I mean, arguably the greatest tackle of all time in Canadian Football League history. So he's going to be back there right now. They have made some changes on defense. That Marquise Bridges, who started off with that great start to the season, went from the starting lineup to a backup to the practice roster to cut in 2 weeks. Jamal Parker's out. So they've moved a couple other guys around. But it was a really, really strong defensive performance that I think, they need to build off of. And then bottom line is don't turn the football over, Matt. I mean, the turnover differential was exactly what you would think would be in 2 games where a team lost by, 20 plus points in both games. That's certainly correctable. The most interesting wrinkle of this entire thing from a Bomber perspective is that Dylan Mitchell is finally getting a chance to play with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I'm very interested to see how he fits in and how many balls he gets from Zach Collaros and what his numbers are. But is it still 5?
4.5. Okay. Let me double check here. I'm just off. 4.5. Yep. 4.5. Which the one trepidation I do have going with the Stamps in this one is, as much as VA is back, I got to see. I don't know if their depth chart has been released just yet. Are they getting Jalen Philpott and Damon Alford back in the lineup? Last week they lost not just VA, but they lost a number of other offensive weapons, and that was always going to be difficult. Okay, depth chart is out. I could take a quick look here. Philpott's a game time decision. Alford's still on the 1 game, so he's not going to be good to go. So you're going to need Dominic Rhymes. You still got Dominic Rhymes. You got Tevin Jones. Clark Barnes is there. Jalen Philpott. So it's a better receiving core than PJ Walker had to deal with last week. So that helps a bit there. And Dedrick Mills. It's just hard to beat a team 3 times. It's not. It is. But with what we saw though is that Calgary they've played well, and it's hard to also just look at a team that had 2 victories and having their quarterback back in the lineup and go, yeah, they're not going to get it done yet again. So I feel like this is more it should at the very least be closer. I don't see how Winnipeg just gets dominated for. It's not just losing 3 games. I don't see how they would get dominated for 3. So at a 4.5, like I could still see Calgary maybe pulling away with a field goal victory. I don't feel comfortable taking them more than that. I also don't even just feel comfortable taking them outright.
This is the sort of game that could be a real pendulum game for the Bombers. If they can get this win, and then they come back at home and have Ottawa at home next week, we could see them kind of put themselves back into forward progression. If they lose this game after what BC did last night, I think we're all back. Like that game and the overtime, the fumble by White, that could literally make BC's season. If they were 3-6 at the 9-game point of the season, because I mean they're at their halfway point right now.
Mm-hmm.
You're basically talking about needing to probably go 7-2 to for sure make the playoffs in the second half of the season.
Was it this time last year when Winnipeg beat BC and it kind of set them off?
Yeah, it
was that around. It was about now.
They had started 0-4, and then they were 2-6. And they beat BC back-to-back, and they ran the table. Then they beat the Riders back-to-back. I think they went on about a 7 or 8 game winning streak. They lost 1 on the way home, and then they lost at the end. They had ended up finishing up at 10-8, but they had actually clinched first place with a week to go in the season, which was absolutely crazy considering where they were in and around this. So listen, CFL football, we know that there's still a lot of time left on it. Our buddy Rod Z has been hammering some great stats in here, folks. Bet against Calgary as a favorite. Calgary's record since 24 season, although I will say this, they're much better this year than they were last year, 0-6 against the spread. They're favorite of 7 points or less, 0-5 ATS. Dave Dickinson, 8-24 against the spread as a home favorite of 7 points or less during Dickinson being the coach of Calgary. So those are some good numbers for Bomber fans. And then listen, there's a lot of Rod Z in here. But Roddy, I love there's always a stat we can take from this chat that will help us feel better about our spot. And then here's another one for him. He likes his bet is Elks money line first half, and bet against Montreal versus poor passing defenses. That's not good for Edmonton, allowing 8 or 3 more. 0-9 against the spread against poor passing defenses. That was the stat I needed to hear for this Elks bet tonight.
Yeah. Montreal has no air game with MBT at quarterback. Sell out on the run.
Hey, Matt. Not to derail this at all. And yes, Huss needs to come out for an EST major. I would love to. We will make that happen at some point in the future. Can you give me an update on this draft thing? I mean, half the chat is talking about 18%, 19%, 20%. So Dusty kind of briefly told me about this yesterday. Where are we at right now?
So, and look, myself, I did a little bit on this, but Sean Bell on the Hangout last show helped really stir the pot of things.
Of course.
So I will try to summarize this as quickly as I can. So back in January in our last draft, Tommy on Insta, when the voting went up, said vote, and it like promoted his team. And it's kind of a gentleman's agreement. You don't vote for you don't post that. And that was the second gentleman's agreement that he broke. So the commission at the time, Quinn Phillips, announced that he would be getting a penalty. Yesterday, as the draft was about to commence, she announced what the penalty was. So it's very late, but said he was going to get a 2-point deduction for whatever vote he was. And she raised relegation to 18%. So Tommy, right off the bat, was he needs to be at 20% to go down. But he traded that to Dusty. Lots happens in the draft. I'm not. There's the nasties think that the commission was rude to Tommy. Tommy thinks he was unfairly treated. The commission believes that she did a great job with it. Like there's a lot of many different sides to this. But in the end, we went into this morning. The morning boys were talking about how it's going to be Eric, it's going to be Dusty that are going to move on. Eric's going to win, and we're going to have 2 relegations because 2 people are below the 18%. The voting was still on. The Twitter is now, I think, done. Insta's still going for a few more minutes here. But on the Hangout, Tommy was upset. Tommy aired some grievances against the commissioner.
Yes.
And at the time, also the commission yesterday said, moving forward, if you promote, hey, vote for this team, it's going to be 2%. That's the penalty. It's a 2% penalty. So at one point, I don't know if it was Belzy. He might have been Belzy. I don't know if I was me. Somebody came up with the idea of, well, why don't you just promote your vote? You're going to get a 2% penalty next time, but you're still in it. Like, why not just go say, vote for my team, and fully go up there, get above the 18%, know that you're in the next draft, and yeah, you're going to take a penalty of 2% because that's what was outlined. There's nothing more that could be handed out. That's what was mentioned. So as I started the lock shop today, I had him at 17.8% combined vote. However, when I looked again, like the Twitter vote had gone up. And Tommy is sitting in a nice spot. I got to quickly pull it up here if I can find it. The vote on is final. Tommy on Twitter finished with 21.3% of the vote.
Attaboy, Tom.
Tommy on Instagram, I'm going to pull this up. And now we combine the votes. So I got to do some math later to ultimately figure it out to make sure. But Twitter has more votes than Insta. Tommy was at 22% of the vote on Insta. It's the math isn't there for him to drop below 18%. Tom Gazzola, as he went into the Hangout today, was probably sitting at, I think, about a 14%. He has, over the last couple of hours, shifted the voting, got his late votes in, had a great get out the vote campaign, and looks to be in the draft once again, not being relegated.
The people have spoken. The hundreds of single ladies in the greater Edmonton area have stepped up to support their guy, handsome Tommy through. By the way, shout out to LTE. LTE's in the chat. He said, it's funny, no one is discussing my dominance in the draft, just the losers.
And it hurts him a little bit. He's at 43% on Insta. And his Twitter's at 41.41%. Like, he had a fantastic draft. It's a solid draft all around.
Was Common last? Like, was he going to get relegated, or was someone below him?
Him and Jay were both going to get relegated because they were both at one point under 18%. It looked like we were going to have a major turnover in the EST drafts for the next one. But Tommy's, hey, he knows that now he's getting a penalty. He knows what that penalty is going to be, but he's still in the draft.
Yes.
And we're going to see how the commission handles this. So it's become this huge controversy, but I will do the official number of voting after this, or a counting of the numbers. But I will say right now, it looks like Tom Gazzola has been reelected as part of the EST draft and will be there the next EST draft. And the commish, Quinn Phillips, is going to have to handle how she wants to deal with this. Tommy in the nasty chat, we did it.
We did it. Yes, Tom. You can't be denied, buddy. You cannot be denied. But what's the glue guy situation? Because Big Maple says glue guy is going to be unglued on air.
He has never finished lower than second in any of the drafts. And not only now does he finish fourth, he's going to get relegated. So we will see how glue guy does feel at 3:00 today. Because he's on location, we won't even really see him in the office until then. So at 3:00, we'll all be tuned in to see how Glue Guys. He'll be live, and then Nasty Bash is about 6:00. But they're doing their show out there ahead of time, and that'll be the first moment we get to hear from Jay Milne, Glue Guy. Yeah. And he's at 12.2% on Twitter. He's at 14% on Insta. I think it's fair to say that Jay Milne, Glue Guy, has been relegated from the ESD drafts.
Tommy avoided relegation. He's buying shots tonight. At least that's what I've heard. And then Spency 5 Censy. Tommy's bot followers must be pumped. Jeez, there's a lot going on in the chat today. A lot going on.
This is something that's going to, I will say, really be out there and really be discussed and for the next few weeks, because I think the plan is right now early September to have the next draft, and so there'll be a lot of discussion around this one for sure over the next number of weeks.
Where is one Dustin Nielson? Many people are alleging that he might be negotiating with the commissioner right now as we speak, and unable to be on the lock shop.
So people, there's a contingent of nasties out there that do believe the commish favors Dustin and is too harsh on Tommy. I can speak that Dusty is off. Well, he said he's off doing. He's got EST work at our old place. So we'll just leave it at that part for that one. I'm sure he'll have more to discuss on that one, maybe on Monday. But yeah, no, that is legit EST business. He is not off colluding with the commish on this one. He's moving on to the next draft as well. So a fair amount of lots of this. There's lots going on. So there's your update, Huss, of what's going on with the EST drafts. And congratulations to Lieutenant Eric on the victory of the EST bird draft.
So LTE just ran through. Tommy's putting the hands up in the chat. Glue Guy's relegation is due to LTE's dominance, not the Justice for Tommy movement. That's a Botsky. And then Big Uke saying what a lot of people have been thinking. Dusty is put on a pedestal by the current regime. I love
also it. Dumb, Huss. But I love it.
Have you seen Big Maple? He's probably taking YouTube Trev to Toys R Us to pick out his reward for running that clip on air.
So we run promos during our afternoon shows and in between these shows on our audio stream, and they're updated daily. And Trev put one up of Dusty's draft. And people think that Dusty has coordinated with Trev for Trev to put up a promo that Dusty's promoting his draft. So that's where people are going. So and then YouTube Trev was in the chat during the hangout. And so people are thinking Morning Show Alliance has taken place.
This is great. Now, where's Nielsen in all of this? Is he safe? And why is he getting
at one point
penalty?
At one point early, like Dusty got off, or Eric got off to a hot start. And there was a fear of that. Maybe there'd be 3 relegations. Dusty climbed up. He's at 25% on Twitter. On Insta, he is at, if I can pull this one up quickly. Come on. Or did I lose it? Oh, yeah, it must be down. Insta must be down. Because now it's over. So I've got to go I have to go in my archives after. I think he was fun. Like, I think even though he's getting the 2% penalty, I think he's good. Yes. So he's at 21% on Insta. He was at 25% on Twitter.
Okay.
Taking away the 2%, he should be fine. So Eric's in, he wins. Dusty will be in, and it looks like Tom Gazzola will retain his seat in the draft.
What was Eric's team to just completely boat race everybody else in the competition?
So, look, there's like 15 rounds in this. I don't know how many people fully look through all of this. 19 rounds. But here's the top 6 on his list that people see.
Okay.
There's Canada Goose and a Penguin. He has the Toronto Blue Jays, the local baseball team, the Edmonton Riverhawks. He's got, for fictional birds, Big Bird, Mother Goose, and Word Bird. Like, right.
Big Bird was 1-1, wasn't he? I asked that yesterday. What was 1-1? Big Bird was first off the board, I think.
Yeah, I can't remember, but it's like, even if you just look in the first category, the 2 picks, he has Canada Goose and Penguin versus Ostrich, Peacock, Bald Eagle, the Kiwi, Emu, and a Hawk. Eric dominated.
Nice work,
dominated.
LTE. So, he's running. I mean, he's been a mainstay. And listen, sometimes, Nielsen, through manipulating commissioners, other employees, will be up there at the top. It seems like LTE would be number 1 on the draft power poll right now amongst EST. Well done, Eric. Well done.
Yeah, I think he's won a couple of the last drafts, or he's like 2 of the last 3 or something like that. So a solid performance by Lieutenant Eric. I do got to ask you if you've. I've just started watching a show on Netflix, and I'm wondering if you've seen it. WWE Unrivaled, is that what it's called?
I know what you're talking about. Unreal, I think.
Yes, Unreal. Sorry. Have you seen any of it?
I've just seen some of the clips. I didn't know whether I kind of wanted to watch it because of how much they kind of peel the curtain back. From what I've seen, it actually looked really interesting. And knowing now what they showed on that first one and kind of how everything played out, you're not really getting any spoilers or anything like that. So I will definitely check it out. I mean, I like wrestling, but I've always been interested in the business and how they kind of come up with stuff. It was pretty cool to see some of the discussions about which way they can go with everyone. Yeah, no, it was neat stuff.
Yeah, I haven't actually sat down and watched wrestling in a number of years, but I've always still been fascinated behind the production and how things go about with the WWE. That I threw it on a couple days ago, and it's just fascinating. Like, and I could get, if you are a full fan, maybe there were going to be storylines and you don't want that fully taken back. And as someone who isn't following anymore, I want to see, like, I want everything. And it's fascinating seeing in those creative meetings as they're talking, okay, well, who should win the Royal Rumble? And then making the decisions of, okay, well, what's the best for the storyline? Even like Triple H at one point says, you know, well, what do we foresee at WrestleMania? Like, they have to jump that far ahead and start thinking, well, how does this impact this and then this? And I actually never knew this fully. Maybe I missed it, but how there's like a central control right behind the stage that is dealing with everything and timing and stuff. And they're talking directly with the ref. And that's how things get communicated. It's a fascinating show. It's really well done. And I'm almost through 2 episodes. They released 5 so far. I'm on the Royal Rumble episode. I think they've released all the way up to WrestleMania. It's cool. I'm not going to lie. For a broadcast nerd too, from that perspective of just how do things get organized and dealt with and done, it is awesome.
The entire operation. And I've actually heard, you know, just on some discussions about this, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, that there are some people, and you might be one of them, that kind of watch this because you're interested in it. And after you watch it, you're kind of far more plugged in and maybe interested in catching a little bit more of the actual regular product. So hopefully that'll be the case. You can get in on some Survivor Series picks in the lock shop or something when we get into that later on in a few months.
What was it? A few years ago, my buddy, he had a wrestling podcast with a bunch of wrestling people, and they did a Royal Rumble pool. And it was the reverse March Madness for me. I joined it without knowing anything, and I won the pool.
Yes,
it was awesome. I got to do the reverse March Madness where I got to put zero thought into it, just make my predictions, and I walked away beating all the other wrestling guys. Like, yeah, there it is.
It's not that easy, and they always do try to put something together and gives people some surprises. Oh, I see 8/8 is now considered Patrick Kane Day in Chicago to celebrate number 88. What a strange thing that they're doing that now that he plays for the Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah, why wouldn't that be done at the end of his career?
Yeah, I mean, all their guys have moved on. JT's here in the peg. Kane. Watch Kane get traded to the Jets at the deadline next year. Little Kane Taves reunion here in Winnipeg. Wouldn't that be something? Hey, did you watch the tennis last night?
I had it in the backdrop while I was out for drinks with a buddy. But
incredible.
She's incredible.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She lost the first set, battled back. The second set went break, 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 break. Then she was able to hold serve and get one back. Osaka pushed it to, I think, 5-4, and then she closed it out and then went on. But I'll tell you what, terrible look for Naomi Osaka.
I wanted to bring that up
for her. Now, listen, I don't want to get too hot about this because I know that she's had her struggles with mental health and stuff like that. And I think she took some time away.
Yep.
And she's a very unique person. Through the third set, she looked like she was on the verge of a complete breakdown. At one point, she looked like she was about to cry as she was serving. But she was sullen. She could not handle having the entire crowd going for her opponent and handle it about as poorly as possible. And then at the end, I mean, to go like, and this is the thing, we're seeing a lot of these videos of her press conference when she was told about Vicky Mboko and how she said that she idolized Naomi growing up and she's so excited to play her and all that. People are showing that now because that was from after her semifinal. Didn't congratulate Mboko and then refused to do post-game media. I mean, just I don't know. It felt very Bush League. And for someone that's won 4 Grand Slams, has been to 6 1,000 level finals in her career, totally knows how it is, should have expected that, and just seemed like such an emotionally fragile person that it was a terrible look for someone that has been such a massive star. And like her resurgence to get to the final was another great story this weekend. And I think anyone that was paying attention to that and what happened afterwards was sort of taken aback at how it was almost like she took out her frustration and anger that the crowd was so supportive of this 18-year-old phenom playing on home court that she made a point of missing her in their congratulations. And then Vicky, all class as well, came out afterwards, looked at her, thanked her, said it was such a dream of her to play. But yeah, terrible look for Osaka, but who cares? Vicky Mboko, historic win for Canadian tennis.
Yeah, it's at the very least, you congratulate who you lost to for a championship. You don't even have, it doesn't even have to share, it doesn't even have to idolize you. You just have to say, congratulations to my opponent on this victory, well deserved. Like, that's all you have to say. I've always had a little bit of struggles with Osaka because you're right. Like, there's a line of, well, you know, battling mental health and the more awareness we've created around it, that matters. But at the same time, to me, when you are in professional sports, there's also still certain expectations that are required of athletes that you have to go do, that you do go perform in front of crowds, and sometimes they may be against you. Now, if she then it got her okay, that's going to be tough, and she'll have to deal with it. And I do feel for her in that moment, but this is competition too at the same time. And sometimes there's the crowd favorites, and you might not be the crowd favorite. And the thing though is, like, at times you have to go speak to the media. Like, there are those things that sometimes you just have to go do. And just because there's a bad day, it's a very fine balance for me, where you have to be very accommodating to the athletes that are dealing with that. But there are still some sort of expectations, the design in certain moments. You know, if Patrick Mahomes doesn't speak after the Super Bowl last year,
yeah,
he gets ripped. He gets ripped about that. You can't shield that with anything. Like, it's that there are certain expectations. And if you get to a final and you lose in a final in tennis, one of those expectations is there's a few comments that need to be made. But to me, just the bare minimum you need to do when you lose in a final is just wish a congratulations to your opponent. And like, I feel like, if I'm not mistaken, at the start of Osaka's career, I think she went up against Serena and she beat Serena. And Serena was one of her idols, and Serena didn't handle it well. And Serena got heat for not handling it well. And now you're doing it to someone else.
Yeah.
Like, it's tough. I do know that she does have her battles, and I wish her all the best with those mental health battles. They're not easy. But, you know, just wish your opponent a congratulations. But a great story, great for Canada, great story for her, and walking away with that win in Montreal. And now I know, like, for us, all eyes will go see what can she do at the U.S. Open.
Here's some stats on this game last night. So going into it, Vicky's career earnings on tour was $448,000. Osaka was $22.7 million, including 4 Grand Slams. Mboko, with the win last night, more than doubled, probably, like, well, she had earned 448. She earned over 750,000 for her win. She started this year as the number 333rd ranked player in the world. She jumps Leila Annie Fernandez, who's 26th in the world, to number 25. She's seeded for the U.S. Open and is now the number 1 Canadian woman on the WTA tour by ranking. So I'll say this, and I know Jeannie, I think we talked about this yesterday. I mean, Jeannie, in a lot of ways, was talked about as and she's sort of the victim of her looks in some ways. That no, she made her own decisions and whatnot, but people think of her as a swimsuit model for SI and someone that did a lot of social media stuff. That 2014 season of hers, Matt, finalist at Wimbledon, semi-finalist at Aussie Open, semi-finalist at the French. I mean, at a truly incredible and at a very young age. And I'll give her a lot of credit. I mean, that year that she had and the excitement that she created, you see the Bianca Andreescu's following her footsteps. Yep. Now Leila, Eddie Fernandez, and now 18-year-old Mboko. It's, I mean, growing up, we sucked at tennis. We never had it. Like, there was not
even Daniel Nestor at the doubles.
Exactly. He and Greg Ruzetsky, and then Ruzetsky decided he was going to be a Brit. And when he actually did anything, I think he got to the quarters at Wimbledon one time. He was doing it under the Union Jack. So, like, the direction that Canadian tennis has gone in the last 20 years, but especially the last 15 with Milos and Shapo and all the women, it is like, I've always loved tennis. And the games last night, too, the men's final between Hatchinoff and Ben Shelton was excellent as well. But this is a really good time, and there's a brand new star. And I just couldn't help, like, regardless of all the BS with Osaka, the grace and the fight that Mboko showed throughout the tournament, but especially in that final, the way she handled and conducted herself. If her agent probably needed to get 2 extra phones today. Like, I know that victory was worth $750,000 for her, like, as far as the check. She is going to make millions of endorsements after kind of really arriving. And I mean, to do it on home soil, what an amazing victory. And it was a hell of a lot of fun betting her as an underdog in all these. I did not have her against Coco Gauff on the weekend, but the minute she beat Gauff, I'm like, I'm backing her in any match, because you can take down the first seed on the roll that she's at with the crowd behind her. She can do it. And man, she did it. It was a really, really fun week for these 2 opens in Toronto and Montreal.
Huss, what's coming up on WST? I'm assuming a bit more on Bomber Stamps tomorrow.
Yeah, my compadre from CFL 110, Jeff Hamilton, will be joining us. We'll get into the roster, get his thoughts on it. We'll certainly talk about last night's game. We'll talk a little bit more about the tennis. We'll get ready for this huge Jays series against the Dodgers beginning tonight. How's that to get going? 2 future Hall of Famers, Scherzer versus
Kershaw.
Kershaw
and Scherzer. It's hard to say that.
Scherzer. And you know what I mean? The Jays, we're going to get the Jays at plus money pretty much all weekend on the road against the Dodgers. So be nice if they can pull off a couple wins, but I'm really looking forward to that. And Hacksaw, I saw someone was asking if Hacksaw's coming on. Yeah, he'll be on before Marbles today. We'll take a little trip around the National Football League with the latest from training camps, and Ken Weeb, some hockey off season, talk a little golf. It'll be a fun show. ESTers always welcome. Still waiting for the first EST winner in the marble race. We've had a few close calls. It feels like, some of you guys are due. So around 2 p.m., just a bit before that, your time, pop in, ! Marbles. We'll see you all there.
Huss, have a great weekend. Enjoy the football games this weekend. I think we'll be chatting next week.
Definitely. I hope all of you have one for me and the lock shop at the Nasty Bash. I'm sorry I will not be in attendance tonight. Maybe I'll FaceTime in.
We should do that maybe one. Yeah. Have a good one, Huss.
Later.
So I've got the final votes. I tabulated Twitter. I've added Insta. 996 total votes between the two. Tommy had 212 of those votes. That puts him at 21.3% of the vote. Dustin Nielson is at 24% of the vote. So he's actually at Dusty's at 24.1967815. So really, though, that's 22.196. Tommy's at 0.21. Tommy loses by 1%. He doesn't come in second by 1%, basically. Dustin Nielson is the winner. And Glue Guy, he is officially relegated at 13, just shy of 13% of the vote. Tom Gazzola, 21% of the vote. He avoids relegation. Oil Stream with Tommy and Reed coming up next. We got EST Afternoons. We got the Reed Wilkins Show with Jay Mill. We got the Green and Gold Kickoff post-game shows. It's Nasty Bash Day. That's all to come here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton Sports, presented by Play Alberta. On behalf of us, I'm Matt. Thanks for tuning in to the Lock Shop. Oil Stream in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.